I'll go ahead and just say a few words. I think a lot of people came for the Congress on Your Corner meeting here, and some of you may have just gotten swamped when you were having lunch, and I apologize for doing that. But I appreciate the opportunity to talk to people. One of the things that I've been trying to do in my 6 months representing the 20th District is just to get out to all the different parts of the district. There's 138 towns that I represent in this job, and so my goal is to get to each one of them every year. And I didn't realize how many days I have to spend in Washington. It actually gets a little tricky to get to every town when you're down there 5 days a week and try to get back up here. And so this was one we got out late last night, so I was able to sneak up and do a little bit of visiting today. So I've been there only 6 months, so it hasn't been a very long time. And as most of you know, if you were around for the election, this is my first elected office. So it's a new job for me, and obviously took a little while to get up to speed and understand how it all works. And it's been a busy time to be in Washington, that's for sure. A lot of stuff going on, from the economy to dealing with the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, dealing with energy issues and our energy independence bill, and lately talking a lot about healthcare and healthcare reform. So I serve on 2 committees. The House is 435 people, and we all work on committees, so people get assigned to 1 or 2 or 3 committees depending on what they are. I serve on the Arms Secretary and Military Planning, and I serve on the Agriculture Committee, which deals with agriculture issues, as you might imagine. Spent a lot of time this summer working on dairy issues because, as people here know, the dairy industry has been in a real crisis, the worst crisis since 1979. Done a lot working with Secretary Vilsack and with the committee to try to get USDA active in buying in some dairy products, getting the dairy export program going, which we did to encourage exports, and then also working with Senator Gillibrand and Senator Schumer this year in the fall in the budget on coming up with some extra money to try to help out our dairy farmers. And we got $350 million through the budget. $60 million of that is going to buy cheese and to try to drive up the prices that people are getting paid, and $290 million of it's going to be direct payments to help out our local farmers. And USDA is working out the final rules on how that's going to get distributed. There's some battles. The big farms in California want more of the money. We're trying to keep more of it for the little farms in the Northeast. So hopefully, the last we talked to them just a couple days ago, we think those checks are going to be coming from USDA in the middle of December. So a couple weeks from now, which is never soon enough, but it's obviously we're getting pretty close. So doing a lot of work on dairy. A lot of work on looking at what's going on in Iraq and how we wind down there and get our troops home, and we've been having a lot of hearings on that. Looking to see what the President says in terms of a plan in Afghanistan. He's obviously looking at the strategy. He came into office, set a strategy, asked the generals to go off and tell them what they needed to do that strategy, and General McChrystal came back and made some recommendations this summer, and I think as you've read in the press, that was to send a lot more troops there to execute the strategy the President had, and I think the President is now, I know what's going on there, going, is that really the strategy we want? If we're going to have to put that many troops in harm's way there, maybe we should rethink our strategy. And I like the approach to the decision making, which is your generals tell you what they need. Well, first you tell them what you want to do, and then you let the generals tell you what they need to do that. And then you go, okay, well, actually, now that I know what that is, let me rethink if that's really what I want to do. I don't think some people say second-guessing the generals. I don't think that's what's going on. I think he's rethinking the strategy, which is what I think the President's role should be, to set the strategy, and the generals should then execute that strategy. And so I think the decision-making process is actually working, but obviously we've got to get to an answer. So that's my work on armed services. I'll give you the brief version of the 2,000-page health care bill and my take on that, because I'm sure a lot of people are interested in that. So we voted a week ago Saturday on this health care reform bill. I voted no on that bill. A lot of you probably already know that. And so there's been, a lot of people have been happy, a lot of people have been sad about that, as you can imagine. I spent most of the summer traveling around the district doing meetings like this. We did probably 50 meetings on health care with a couple thousand people in attendance in all. And what I found was there was a lot of agreement about what some of the problems are, but wide disagreement about how to solve them. And I pretty much knew before we got to vote that I was going to have people happy and sad no matter what I did, because it was clear going to these meetings there was just a wide disagreement about what the outcomes should be, what we should do. But here are the things that people agreed on. We need to get a health insurance system where insurance companies don't exclude you if you have a pre-existing condition. If you get sick, you should still be able to get insurance and still be able to get help. You should not have a lifetime cap on your insurance benefits. That makes no sense. Why? I mean, what is insurance? I pay into it, and then if I get sick, oh, it doesn't work anymore. That's not insurance, that's anti-insurance. most people agree, not everybody, but pretty wide agreement that we'd be better off if we got everybody in the healthcare system so that they have health insurance and can go to the doctor on a regular basis. That we'd be better off if we had more preventive care and people were getting basic primary care as well and not ending up in the emergency room as their first line of defense. That was what we had agreement about. We also had big agreement that the costs are escalating incredibly quickly. That town governments are struggling to pay their bills. The school systems are struggling to pay their bills. The small businesses are struggling. The farmers are struggling to pay their premiums. Individuals are struggling. Everybody sees these premiums just ratchet up and up. The insurance companies just keep cranking them up, and it's a real problem. So that was the stuff there was pretty much agreement on. The House bill, in my opinion, did a pretty good job on some of the insurance reform, getting rid of the pre-existing condition exclusion, getting rid of lifetime caps on benefits, made some good investments in increasing the reimbursements from Medicare to primary care doctors so we would have more of those. We have doctor shortages in a lot of my district, as people here know. Did good in terms of investing in preventive care. The exchange idea and the way that the bill works on getting everybody a chance to be able to afford insurance and to be able to buy insurance with a government subsidy help, I thought that was a pretty good setup. The public option, you heard a lot of people talk about the public option. That was a big deal. I have said I'm in favor of having a public option on a level playing field with private insurance because I think everybody should, if they want to, be able to get a not-for-profit insurance company. So they don't worry, I've heard this from a lot of constituents, that their insurance company might be worried more about profits than about taking care of them. That said, I don't think it should have an advantage, and I don't think it should crowd out private insurance from being able to be there. That was all stuff in the bill. What wasn't in the bill, in my opinion, and what I thought the reason I ended up voting no on it was I didn't think it did nearly enough to slow the growth in cost. The cost issue for people was so critical as I talked to them, and was something that I felt as a small businessman when we tried to buy insurance for our employees, that I think we've got to get that right. We've got to change some of the incentives that are broken in the system so that costs don't just continue to skyrocket. And all the other reform is great, but it won't fix the system if we continue to have the skyrocketing costs. And I thought it was critical to do it now. Some people said, hey, we can do all these other good things, we'll get to cost later. I haven't been in Washington that long, but I've seen enough to know that if you don't work on the cost stuff now, that's the hard part of the equation. And right now we've got everybody at the table. The pharmaceutical companies, the insurance companies, the doctors, the hospitals, they're all there. If we don't do that now, I don't think we'll do it later. So I think we've got to do it now, and that's what I didn't think was in the bill. I'm hopeful that we'll get a bill back from the Senate. I'm hopeful it'll be better and do a better job on the cost front, and that we can actually pass some health care reform this year. And if it does, I would look at supporting it because there's a lot of good things in there, but again, there's some stuff that I didn't think we did nearly enough of, and I think it's the critical issue is cost. So that's my 5-minute version of health care, and I bet there's a lot of questions in the room, so rather than me talking the whole time, let other people ask, or maybe you want to talk about something totally different, because what I have learned is the government deals with everything, and so my new job, I have to be able to talk about everything.
The government is everything.
Well, that's a different issue, and potentially